want to try solving this equation using fractions, which can get a little cumbersome. A lot of times when we see fractions, we just kind of want to freak out about the fractions. So, let's take a look at this. We have 5x over 12. Now, I want to just note that, a little side note, if 5x over 12 is the exact same as saying 5/12 x, okay? So either way we have it, it says the same thing. So you can go back and forth depending on which format you like best. So I'm keeping it as that 5x in the numerator over 12. Now, I am not crazy about these these denominators, okay? So when I see these fractions, it just, I hate having those denominators. So it'd be great to get rid of them. And one of the ways to get rid of them is if I find a number that both 12, 3, and 4 go into and multiply it by that number, then I can cancel that out. How does that work? Let's just do a little side note. So let's say I had 1/2. All right, well, if I take 1/2 times 6, okay, well, 2 goes into 6. I could even cross cancel. 2 goes into 2 once, into 6 3 times. And I see that I have a value that doesn't have a denominator, or I should say it has a denominator of 1, and I can just write it as that 3. So that always works when I multiply a fraction by a number that denominator goes into. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, I had 1/6. And if I multiply it by 24, well, I know 6 goes into 24. 6 goes into 6 once, into 24 4 times, and I end up with just 4. So we're using that idea to get rid of the denominators. So when I look at 12, 3, and 4, a number that can get rid of them would be 12, because 12 goes into 12, 3 goes into 12, and 4 goes into 12. So I'm going to multiply this side here by 12 and this side by 12. All right, so I'm going to show this distribution. So when I take 12 times 5x over 12 plus 12 times 2x over 3 equals 1/4 times 12. So I'm just showing everything being distributed up. So know that, again, if I multiply one side by 12, I have to multiply the other side by 12. Otherwise, it would no longer be equal. So now, multiplying this, I'm going to use blue. I'm going to cross cancel. 12 goes into 12 once, and I'm left with 5x. Well, I come over here, 3 goes into 3 once, and into 12 4 times, and 4 times 2 is 8x. And then I have 4 goes into 4 once, into 12 3 times, and I get 3. So then I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms, but before I do, just know that this right here is a lot nicer than this. It's saying the exact same thing, but this right here, well, that scares me. But this, I think, I can handle that. So then I combine like terms, and I get 13x equals 3. Divide both sides by 13, and my final answer is x equals 3 over 13. So I could plug that 3 over 13 in for x, and see that when I take 5 times 3 over 13 and divide by 12 plus 2 times 3 over 13 divided by 3, it's going to equal 1/4. So that is how I would multiply by this least common denominator, or least common multiple that 12, 3, and 4 go into, so that when I multiply it by that, the fractions cancel, I end up with something a lot nicer, and then I can just go ahead and proceed to solve that. So I hope you found that video helpful and realize that you can work with fractions to make them not so scary.